Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. On each episode, we interview recovering addicts and learn their story with addiction. Through exploring personal journeys, we get a glimpse of the depths addicts fall to and their path in recovery. We hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. My name is Kevin, and I am an addict.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. Unfortunately, since we are on location in southern Utah, right outside of St. George, Josh was unable to make the trip. We had plans. He was going to book but he just couldn't make it. So I'm here alone, unfortunately, but I am here with a dear friend that lives in Utah, and you are?
Hi, my name's Theresa. I'm an addict.
Hi, Theresa. So we're going to dive deep.
Go deep.
Ask you a lot of four-step questions, and I know a lot of your stories, so I'm going to make
So
sure
you know
that you
the
tell them.
questions to ask.
Yeah, right? And before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to our friend Joe in Santa Rosa for continuing to support the podcast. We really appreciate that. And also two podcast friends, recovery podcast friends, the Anonymous podcast and the Living Clean podcast, both excellent podcasts. And please, you guys check them out and let them know that I sent you. So we always like to start off with your clean date and how many years?
I always get the 7 and the 9 mixed up. 9/7/95. So that's 29. You know how I figure out? I figure out I'm clean because I have 29 years clean and I'm 59 years old. So when I turn 60, I know my clean date will have a 0 at the end in a couple of months. That's the only way I can remember.
That's why I never do math on air, because I can't. And I want to, if you tell me like your clean date year and then leave it at that and try to make me figure out how many years, I'll just ask you how many years, because I can't even do math.
Yeah.
So, yes, I am a high school dropout. So, we want to get down into like childhood and stuff that happened for you that might, in your childhood, that might have caused you to have feelings that you wanted to suppress and get loaded. You know, that whole process. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So, I know a lot. It doesn't mean I remember it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of my memories are from pictures or that I know happened. I don't know. My mom and dad, my dad was an alcoholic. My mom and him divorced when I was like 3, I guess. And she remarried to a guy. So, and that's like the whole part I don't remember. I don't remember any of that. Does anybody remember any of that age of their life? 3 through whatever?
Well, a lot of us, if there's trauma involved, we block it out.
That's probably it. I've never really questioned it. I do remember like being young at grandma's house, maybe getting a bee sting. I don't even know if I remember that or it's just a story. Like when, between the toes, it was we lived by Shirley Temple. I don't know. In Redwood City. That's where I was born and raised in Redwood City.
Yeah.
And Mom remarried a guy who...
That's Redwood City, California.
Redwood City, California,
Yeah.
She remarried a guy who, and these are so you have to fast forward to like junior high. I remember in junior high, we would run around at at some horse stables by some house we lived in Emerald Hills, Redwood City Hills. And the guys would chase us around doing beefy snatch.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. So a beefy snatch would when they would stick their hands in your shirt and grab your boobs and say beefy snatch and then run away.
I've never heard of that.
I know. I haven't thought of that till just now.
Oh my God.
But that's like the earliest memory that I have.
So they're copping a feel.
Yep, exactly. But it was just normal, right? I didn't know any different. That was junior high. I thought we were kids playing, whatever. They would say it too, like beefy snatch, whatever.
Oh my God, I'll never get that out of my head. And then from now on, I'm going to call you Theresa Beefy Snatch.
Perfect.
No. But what? So I'm sorry. Do you remember any childhood trauma? Nope. Was there anything like you said that there was a divorce?
Yep, I do not remember any of that.
Wow.
So the first memories come up when we had moved to the house in Emerald Hills. My brother had I kind of remember grammar school and saving stamps. I think we moved a lot when I was younger too. So I went to like Clifford, Henry Ford, which are two elementary schools. And then I went to a junior high, and then we moved again. That was when sixth grade started happening in junior high. But then we moved again, so I went back to an elementary school. And then I ended up going to Kennedy, a different junior high.
Why were you moving?
I think at that point, my mom was a single mom. And so she was probably struggling. I don't really know. I remember asking her when I got clean, but she was still a functioning alcoholic. I probably asked her after 6 p.m. And you shouldn't ask mom those things because it was after cocktail hour.
So there's a subject. Your mom was an alcoholic?
Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying in these beginning years that I finally do remember the beefy snatch days. My mom owned a bar.
Yeah.
And so I remember her, and it was so traumatizing for me. I do remember this because my brother would pick on me. And so I would call the bar, like whatever time of night, looking for my mom. And so her name was Pat Shop. And so I would call the bar and ask if Pat Shop was there. And her bartender would always screw with me and say, no, this is not a pet shop. I'd be like crying, no, I want to speak to Pat Shop. And, finally, I guess I would get in touch with her something. Those were the days. And so I started going, I was in junior high. I remember sitting at that table taking mushrooms. Like mushrooms were big back then.
Yeah.
And drinking suicides. Anything in the cabinet.
Right. Yeah.
Mix it all together and down it. And I think my brother, I remember him and weed. But he was the kind of brother, he was like 3 years older than me. And so I didn't get to party with him, but don't burn me because he'll beat your ass. You know what I mean? So
I do.
Yeah.
I've got those brothers.
Yeah. So
so you were drinking.
Oh yeah.
Were you smoking pot by then?
Yeah.
So
because we were taking mushrooms.
So at any of that time when that first started, when was the first time you got loaded?
I remember, I don't know, but I do remember being in junior high. Oh yeah, because we were totally smoking pot. Okay, so I was in junior high and I worked in the office. This is like 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I worked in the office and we would get these like pink slips or yellow slips. And that was, you had to go take them to classes and people had to come out of class and go to the office because they were in trouble or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of the office and we would go to this park before school and smoke a bunch of weed. And I just dropped. And I remember my head hitting the ground like a bowling ball.
Wow.
And then like getting back up and see, they're just pop-up memories. I don't remember anything. I don't remember the feelings behind it. I don't remember anything that happened after it. I remember getting up and ending up in the office. So I was giving myself a pink slip, I guess. And then, those were also the days my brother had a van. If you know anything about Redwood City or anybody listening, there was these 2 vans called Sundance and Fantasy. And this guy named painted them and they were like Scooby-Doo vans.
Yeah.
And so the
vans, Scott painted them?
No. Yeah. This guy, Scott, had painted them. That was also my brother's name.
Okay.
But, so we had Fantasy and my brother would take us to the movies at the movie theater in Belmont. And it was all the junior high. I don't know. We would just get all drunk. My brother would pick me up all drunk. Again, it's a vague memory. That's the only part of the memory I have.
You have a lot of memory loss.
I do. Until yeah. Actually, everybody I use it, I always, Deanna, what happened? Like, I don't remember that. Or if I see somebody, I'm like, do I owe you an amends? Like, I don't remember a whole lot. But anyways. So yeah, the pot smoking started in junior high and it was just right progressive.
But you say that you don't remember your first time. Can you look back now and correlate that the getting loaded, like deadened the feelings that you were going through? Or is that a reason that you were getting loaded? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Like I said earlier, I don't even know any of the feelings I had at the time. I do remember because when we moved into that house, she married a guy named Jim. He managed a Woodside Bowl up in Redwood City. And I had no idea, right? I was clueless back then because I was so young. He was a cocaine user. And I know my mom owned a bar, but I don't know if drugs were ever. Well, I do. I'll have to take you back to that.
Okay.
My dad. This is a story she told me. I don't know anything about it. The dad I forgot to tell you, my dad died.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
That could be trauma.
Yeah. So when I was 9, they divorced when I was 3. She remarried. I don't even know how I forgot to tell you about my dad. The dad that raised me from 3 to 9 was a family guy. We had a house on Edgewood Road in Redwood City. We did the Channel 2 backyard carnivals. We were in 4-H. We had good friends up on the hill. I raised rabbits. My brother raised lambs. We had turkeys.
Wow.
I know. I forgot all that part, huh? We had a dog, 3 dogs, peanut butter and jelly, that would always run away and go to Motorcycle Hill. My dad had motorcycles, and I would ride on the front going up Motorcycle Hill. My brother had a Honda so I do remember my life. He had a little 80. The next door neighbor had the little Honda, but we had an acre for a backyard, so we'd zoom around the backyard. And I remember when my little rabbit died, I took it to my neighbor. We tried to put it in a shoebox and save it. And that is when we first started smoking Tarrington 100s in the basement, because that's what my mom smoked. Yeah. And they made shotgun shells down there, and we drank. We would sneak Old Crow, because she had cases of Old Crow in the basement with the cigarettes. Yeah.
So you started drinking then?
So my dad died. So this is what my mom and dad did. I guess they could order jars of pills, speed, whatever.
Right, diet pills.
Yeah, or something. And my mom was only 4'11". So they would.
That's pretty small.
Yeah. So this is a story she told me. Obviously, I don't remember any of it, but she had told me that they would take these pills. One day she took one full one. Actually, she would take half of them. And
half a pill?
And it got her so high that she locked us in the house for 3 days till she came down. And my dad was part of a group of motorcycle riders from Menlo Honda, was actually in Redwood City, but we called it Menlo Honda. And she locked us in the house till she came down, and she never used methamphetamines or whatever speed they were ordering through the mail again. He continued, and I guess they gave her a hard time, and he got all over them, whatever. But at the age of 33, mind you, we're on Edgewood Road. Sequoia Hospital was right around the corner, but he had a heart attack. And I remember my aunt waking me up in the middle of the night saying, it's going to be okay, when obviously it wasn't, because my dad was throwing up blood in the bathroom, and he ended up dying of a heart attack.
Wow.
So that was my mom's trauma. I don't really know how it affected me. Probably did. I just don't remember.
Yep.
I do remember me and my brother sitting on the couch looking out the window because they wouldn't let us go to the funeral. That's like the gist of it I remember. And then she married I do remember her. Oh, wow. That's another childhood memory.
This is kind of therapeutic, isn't it?
It is, because there's stuff I do remember that I didn't realize. Her and my dad. So we moved into his mom's house, my dad's mom's house. And I do remember them before we remodeled it in the family room. And he was crying over the loss of his mom. That's like just a memory. I don't remember anything around it, just that memory. And that's where I get I was a latchkey kid, because I would come home after school to that house in that family room with this old teddy bear. It's the only thing I remember. And eat cookies and watch Match Game before I started using. So cookies were my first using.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah.
Or sugar.
Whatever, comfort. Yeah. To change whatever was feeling.
God, I remember stealing cookies when I was a kid.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, the gist. There was a part of it that I didn't remember that I do remember, that when I talk about it, I feel it.
Okay.
Feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, that's where a lot of us, I'm only saying this because of some of the work that I've done through trauma therapy, is that we don't know until we explore it. So we can, I've come across so many people that have trauma in their childhood that they don't attach it as trauma. They're like, oh, I don't know, this happened. And then once we start talking about it, they go, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or, wow, some feelings are coming up. And so there's actually trauma there.
Right.
Just undiagnosed.
Right. And the after that, all the men, like I have worked my steps around the issues I had when I hit bottom and clean, around the dads that she had married or the men she had brought home, knowing that me and Gloria had worked it, realizing that I had daddy issues. Like that's the reason my behavior in high school and clean, because that's what was learned behavior.
Yeah, you fell into that pattern in your relationships as an adult.
Yep. Why pick? So in high school, I went out. They were like one night stands, but always with the same person. But I never had an expectation. And these are memories I barely remember.
Does that sound like a pattern your mom had?
Oh yeah, after my dad died and she divorced the abusive. If you want to go back to that part, she married when we had the van with my brother. She married that guy who managed the bowling alley, who was a cocaine addict, and he was abusive. I do remember, and these are vivid memories. I remember him arguing, throwing stuff at my mom. She would send me to my grandma's, and I have this. When I sleep, I have to have the fan on. Part of that's from the tinnitus or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But the other part is because I remember being at my grandma's and her heater was loud. And we'd go to grandma's when they were fighting, and I would sleep on the couch and the heater would go on, and that's what would put me to sleep.
So it's kind of like white noise for you?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so that's funny. My brother's friend had moved into our basement too. I ended up having a fling with that guy later on in life. And so after they divorced, and I think I do remember, so we moved down the street. I don't know why. I don't know what their problem was, but we moved from that house probably to a smaller house down the street and moved in there. And here's the part of this one. I don't know if it's a made up story or if it's a real memory, which it has to be. Yeah. But my stepdad, this cocaine addict, coming into the bathroom where I was, and I don't know if I was just afraid of him or if he made an advance. But then, and those were when you had slumber parties. This was one of the other girls whose story I just listened to. She had slumber parties when she was a kid. We did the same thing. We when they would fall asleep, we'd draw on them. We'd put whipped cream in their hands. We'd freeze the bras. I remember all that stuff. But it was at one of those slumber parties where I don't remember why I was running from him, but I do remember we went to the bowling alley, the other bowling alley he started managing after they got divorced, and being afraid of him and running from him. So another thing probably would work if I did some work around it. I would remember more about it. Yeah, so
a lot of patterns passed on to you.
Yeah, and I guess I was saying that because the pattern that she taught me is men aren't going to stay anyways. They're either going to die or they're going to leave. And so my pattern in high school was I would never have an expectation of somebody. So it was always be a one night stand, but with the same person most of the time. You know what I mean? But the next day, I probably wouldn't even stay for breakfast. Or if I did, I didn't talk a lot. I was ashamed of who I was and my body because I was never taught anything about it. And I would just leave it without any expectation, without any talk, no communication, just next time I saw him at a party or a kegger.
Hey, what's up, dude?
Yep, and that's what would happen. Yeah. So
you are not alone in that whole process. I mean, some of the details might be different for other people, but the patterns that we pick up from our parents are so alike what we do in real life when we're an adult. And
that's the stuff I learned when I worked that first round of steps at 13 years clean. It took me 13 years clean to get to that. Because, I mean, if we want to get there, we'll go there. But when I first got clean, I didn't get a sponsor. Because it was all,
well, what?
I'm lying again. Actually, no. It was later on that I did get one in a dysfunctional way. I didn't get a sponsor because I did step groups. It was when we had that blue unapproved literature book. And I did step groups. I think I went through El Centro as an outpatient program down there in Road City. And we did step groups. And so I never really, because I didn't know.
What year was that?
95. Okay. 95, 96 when I first got clean. I got out of jail. Oh, should we get me to jail before we talk about getting out of jail?
Well, I mean, so did you graduate high school?
No. Well, yes, I did. I went to San Carlos High School, but it closed.
Oh, I did too.
The year I was graduating. So it closed in 83.
So you were you were 2 years ahead of me.
Okay.
I was a
sophomore.
sophomore.
2 years old as I am. Sweet.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Hey.
Don't say it like that.
But so I ended up going to Redwood.
Yeah, me
which
too.
was a continue. Oh,
hey,
all right. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And so
Did you ever buy acid off a guy in the hallway?
No.
Okay.
No. Acid wasn't really my thing. I did it once and went to what were the record stores' names?
Tower Records.
Tower Records in San Mateo on acid. I don't know if I ever took it again. That was some nuts. That was back when we could do the El Camino.
I
drive up and down El Camino all night long.
I think you and I were there at the same time.
Probably.
I was selling LSD in the hallway.
Oh, that's why you asked.
Yeah.
Anyway, but by going to Redwood, I got extra credits and I graduated early.
So you did graduate?
Yes, but not with a class or walking down the hall. I just got the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a high school diploma?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's
actually.
pretty good.
And it comes from Sequoia because it was continuation
Yeah.
school. Yeah, whatever. It still is.
Yeah.
Don't ask me if I could ever find it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Actually, I might still have it. I have one box at home of all my, it's got a toot loop and
Oh my God.
and a couple of other things that I remember.
Yeah. So you just graduated high school. So just graduating high school.
And actually, a lot happened in high school. I guess we can't skip that part either.
So a lot happened, like trauma stuff?
Oh, yeah. So high school, my brother was a senior. I was a freshman. His girlfriend was a sophomore, and all the other friends were juniors.
Wait. I remember this at the time. That somebody died on a motorcycle on Edgewood.
Yeah, we can't miss this part because that's where it all starts.
I remember that.
I might even cry. I haven't talked about this in a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't think I went to class a lot in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who when I was in Bethlehem and Clean years later, whatever, she remembers us climbing out of windows in the classroom, in the back of the class, and getting in all kinds of trouble. I don't remember a whole lot. I do remember out in the parking lot, down the hill, getting high, smoking cigarettes, beer bongs, leaving at lunch, not coming back. And those were the days where my brother, they were like hardcore partiers, like keggers at Stallstaff Park. And it was those days where, they were his friends, so I wasn't allowed to be there. We did the game reserve in Redwood City. If any of you are from there, you'll know what I mean. And Manteca water slides. We did, like all kinds of just kegger parties were the thing. For me at that age, I think just smoking pot. In addition, my brother did the drugs.
At that age? How old?
Oh, I don't know. How old are you in high school?
Well,
I don't know, 16,
17?
Yeah. And then so there was one party we were at. It was at the park. I'm going to cry.
It's okay.
And I remember saying to my friend, my brother was there. He didn't kick me out. Didn't say, these are my friends. You got to go away. Nothing. And I was like, I didn't even remember who my friend was, but I was like, check it out. And knocked her off because we were all drunk and he's not making us leave. But that night, the kegger ran out early. They had robbed a Coors train prior, week before or something. And so his friend Doug, all the beer was on the side of their house. So they took his motorcycle, not thinking how much they're going to be able to bring back, but they're going to get something. And he had a Yamaha TT 500.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. And him and Doug took off, went to go get some beer, got chased on the way back, and
chased
by the cops. And so if anybody listening knows Redwood City, they were on Canyon Road, or they were on Cordilleras. So it's this long street, and it curves, or you turn up. And so I guess my brother was going to turn up. Doug leaned the other way, and they went straight into a telephone pole. Both of them died. And it was during this time. See, these are memories I do have. His girlfriend was my best friend, and it was 18 days before his birthday, and we were planning a kegger, and so we handmade all these invitations. We were keeping secrets from him. It would piss him off. There was this guy. Oh my gosh, there was this guy Doug that every girl fell in love with. He had a Chevelle 396, SS 96. People wonder how I know these things. I'm like, high school, what do you think? So that accident, I remember them coming into our house. By then we had moved to San Carlos, and I remember the cops coming to the door. San Carlos Police Department. And I'm like, he's not here. And they're like, ma'am, is your mother home? San Carlos. And so I remember standing around this chopping block and them, saying that my brother had died. And that's the beginning of all the memories that I have of the trauma in my life. My mom, alcoholic, shoved it under the carpet.
Really?
Couldn't say his name till the day she passed away, till the day she got cancer, the year she passed away. Could not. She ended up getting married later on. Her husband's son was named Scott, and she couldn't call him by his name, because it was too painful for her. And so that's when I started drinking to blackouts. I remember being in blackouts, so I don't know if it was really a blackout.
Well, maybe somebody told you were in a blackout later.
But I remember being dragged up a hill because I couldn't function.
So you're in and out.
Right. I was the crying alcoholic, not really wanted at parties, but everybody was taking care of, all his friends would take care of me. I remember we going through his room and finding hash, in his drawers, and took it and just like smoked hash till we were hashed out. And his parents tried to sue us for killing their son. And the people whose house we
wouldn't get much.
No. The people's whose house it happened in front of, we would always go to that telephone pole, all loaded after, being at the game reserve drinking or whatever. And they wrote a newspaper article on my body and my life. And these darn kids, thinking it's my body and my life and I can do whatever I want, not realizing how it affects everybody else. I mean, it was just it was in the newspaper. I still have like the thing, it's all framed. So I remember being drunk and riding a motorcycle to prove that I could in the memory of my brother. The motto was, only the good die young, I'll be here forever. And that's what high school was all about. And that's when I started using cocaine. And it was just, a quarter could last you all weekend. It didn't last long, but
I don't know who you're hanging out with.
But I just started, and then I do remember those parties. Like, I was a big picture taker. I can reminisce for days in these photo albums I have. Oh, yeah. We were kegers, we were cocaine addicts. We took a lot of pictures. We had a lot of fun. I could kill you in a game of quarters and get you drunker than a skunk. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was high school. Yeah. And then it turned into, somebody introduced me to crank, and that's what it was called. Chicken crank, rose crank, bathtub crank.
Peanut butter crank.
Peanut butter crank. Yeah, I don't know. It was, yeah. And people are like, what's crank? I'm like, what are you, 20? How old are you?
Yeah,
right?
They are.
They are, I know. And so I remember my dealer, and he said, you know what? You're coming over way too much. Take this and come back later. And that became my life. Like, that was my life out of high school. I was a drug dealer in a man's world, right? It wasn't really the era of women. And I wasn't didn't think I was BMOC, didn't realize probably my ego needed it, whatever. I just
BMOC?
needed big man on campus.
Okay.
I just needed to use, and this worked.
Right.
And I was really close to my dealer, and he let it happen, and it worked. So, oh gosh. Oh, see, and it was fun though. Dang it.
Well, until it's not.
Right. And so these were the days we were hanging out at the loading zone. Did you ever go to the loading zone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I never went to a bar.
Oh, you never went to, oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Oh, yeah. And I was, so I had a love-hate relationship with the band. So Ronnie, the singer, I don't think he liked me, but I was going out with the drummer's brother and having an affair with the bass player. And so I didn't.
Which is like
normal.
On par.
Yeah. And it was a good bar back, right? I could wash it. I could clean a dish or a cup, a glass, like nobody's business. And I kept the band going. It was just all out in the back parking lot all the time, doing drugs in the bathroom. So I didn't drink a lot because I was too busy dealing crank.
Yeah, you were a business person.
Yeah. And doing my own stuff, whatever. But I was going. And so the dysfunction, of course, here starts in my life. This is, did we want to talk about the cats? Because this is after the cats. But the dysfunction started, I started going out with this guy named Andy, and his brother Frankie was the drummer. And Andy, I didn't know he was a heroin addict. I didn't know anything about shooting drugs, like anything. Like right. I just did crank and I sold it.
You heard about it though.
I don't really think so.
Heroin?
Not really. I was still, no.
Heroin, when people shot heroin, they were drug addicts.
I don't think he was shooting heroin. I take that back. Oh, okay. I think he was shooting crank and doing speedballs.
All right.
But I still didn't know about it. He, like when he would admit, I just didn't know. But he lived in the hardcore ghetto of Redwood City. I didn't realize I was starting to go out with a lowlife. I mean, I don't really want to call him a lowlife, but that's the crowd that he hung out with. I guess so, yeah. But these guys, it was just, I look back on it and it was sad because it became abusive. I have broken teeth from it. So what happened was I ended up sleeping with his friend, of course. And so then he thought I was sleeping with every friend all the time. And I was the begging drunk, forgive me, or no, I didn't do it, or you know what I mean? Just that dysfunctional relationship. And he would just hit me all the time and tell me he was going to break my cat's other leg because I told you the cat jumped off the balcony and broke his leg. And his brother hated me so much, which at the time I thought he hated me so much. Somebody had told me it was because he was so jealous that he hated me. I don't know, whatever. But he would chase me around his house with a crowbar and like around my car. These are just just dysfunctional ghetto losing battles.
Were you like a really annoying tweaker?
No, I was a good tweaker. So I went to work for Radio Shack. This was, so my cat's name were Dasamai Kitty, Baby Head, and Kitten Head. We call him Kitten Head. Yeah, we had all these but anyways.
You were a tweaker.
Yeah. So I went to work for Radio Shack for a reason, right? So
you get the spy listening appointment?
Yes. And there's so many stories. I have a couple I will tell you. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. So I had a 200-channel programmable scanner. And so at one house, not the house I thought the cat was bugged, I had it at one house out the kitchen window so that I could hear if people were sneaking up on me. And we would always think there was people walking in the leaves. Like, here they come. Here they come.
Yeah.
No, it was the freaking sprinklers in the middle of El Camino going, right? But the microphone was so good. And I remember my friend, I was tweaking hard in that house. Didn't own it, right? Obviously a renter, but I had the kitchen cupboards off and they had been painted so many times. I think I was stripping them for 3 weeks. I don't even know if I put them back on and they were painted. I just remember stripping them. They were thick. And I was definitely, the bass player had left his wife at that time. I guess I'm all over the map. He had left his wife and was living with me. But I do remember at that time I wanted to stop using. I didn't call it get clean.
Oh, wow. What drove that?
I think at this point I was on my second. I remember, so the cat where I thought, the house.
Tell the story, just tell that story.
Okay, so the house I lived, so this was we were good tweakers though. Me and Deanna I lived in the studio. I had a pinball machine in my kitchen. Oh my God, we would fly to El Cajon to pick up dope. You could fly back with it duct taped and nobody would ever know because those were the times and it wasn't really something you got caught for. But we would make kitty condos out of cardboard boxes for my cats. And my cats were my life. But I'd leave the door open a little for them and they would take too long coming back. So funny. And Deanna would be like, what's wrong? I think they're bugging my cat. And the cat would come back and Deanna lifts up the tail. She goes, look, is there anything in it? And I'm like, so that's I don't think the cat was ever bugged, but we thought they were sticking microphones up my cat's butt.
I tell that story to other people. I tell it that you lifted the cat's tail and that you were trying to get in the cat's butt.
So, but that's a true story. I mean, I think of it now going, what in the world was I thinking? But we were tweaking. Yeah. I had material braided down the balcony because I thought that's the way the cat could go up and down so they couldn't get in my door.
Climbing a rope or something?
Yeah. The cat never did. She actually fell off the balcony and broke her poor little leg.
Trying to climb down the rope?
I don't know. I don't think she never attempted the
Okay, so you're a hardcore tweaker.
Yeah. And then the other one was I lived with this crazy guy on Cordilleras in San Carlos. And I I had a voice activated tape recorder in the in the living room table because it had a big piece of glass. You just stick it in there. Hooked up, so it was a microphone. Hooked up to a voice activated tape recorder in my bedroom that was picked up by the 200 channel programmable scanner. But the problem is I don't think I ever listened to any of the tapes because I was too busy recording, tweaking, or whatever. So if they were talking smack, I never found out because I was too wired to even take the time to listen. Yeah, that's how that went. But so those were the fun days, right? Mm-hmm. And then I don't even know where the transition happened. I know then I lived in the house where the microphone went out the window. I was dating the bass player who moved out with his wife because I was the babysitter. So I ended up having an affair with both band members. And I remember at that time my dealer was trying to get my boyfriend, who was abusive, to go out with somebody else because this was the only way I could get away from him.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. But this is the first time I went to jail. I got busted at the loading zone in 1987. Went to jail
for
selling drugs.
Okay.
So that was my first. I don't remember the health and safety code.
If you went to jail, then you were.
It was in
18?
87.
Okay, so you're 21 or 22.
You're asking me to do math on the air. I don't know how to do it.
Well, I only say that because I got clean in 86.
Okay, there you go.
And I was 20.
Okay.
And you're like a year and a half or 2 years older than me?
So I was working at a title company and I got to do work furlough. So the only thing I learned from that little time in jail, I think I did like 30 days work furlough, and I learned how to crochet. That was it. And write on my mattress. First thing I did when I got out of jail was went back to the bar. So
so there wasn't any thought of getting clean at that time?
No idea. No idea. And so then life went on like that till 95 when I got busted again.
The vicious cycle.
Yes.
The vicious cycle. So we'll start at 95.
I'm going to start at 95.
No? When are you going to start?
When I was just getting out of high school, I remember I was dealing cocaine and I had bindles in my closet. Unfolded, folded, filled. And my mom found them.
Ooh.
So she kicked me out of the house. And she allowed me to stay in her garden shed outside. Oh, yeah. At this time, we lived on Claremont in Redwood City.
So you moved a lot.
Yeah. And she was married to some other guy. And
how many times did your mom get married?
She got married 3 times, but had like 2 consistent boyfriends in the middle of that in the last marriage. So that's where I learned how to do that.
Okay.
Right? The same guy just never stayed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. So you're out in the shed.
I'm out. I lived in the garden shed. I remember sitting at Denny's before it came the Pancake House or whatever it is. It was open 24 hours going, well, what am I going to do now? You know? So I ended up living at a friend that lived on San Carlos Avenue in some condos or whatever they were. And in the back was a camper that went on a truck without the truck.
Right.
He allowed me to stay there. And me and my cats... And I remember making the best of it, you know, and hanging my jewelry on the little screen door, whatever. And I did that for a while. Safeway was my shower, you know, shower. And had friends that would, you know, let me hang out or whatever. And I was like, I was camping. It was normal to me. It really didn't matter.
I absolutely get that.
Yeah. And so life went on like that. And so I think that was before the bugged cat apartment.
Yeah, the microphone in the cat's ass.
The microphone in the cat's ass, yeah. And at that time, within this time frame, at whatever time, I got pregnant twice, had 2 abortions. Didn't know at the time. The first one, didn't even know, just knew that's what I had to do. The second time, I think I was like all excited, not that excited that I was going to keep it, but I was going to name it Destiny, but knew I was having an abortion. I don't know, I was just high. Didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And I don't have like hardcore, I always think I should have these hardcore regrets or whatever it is that goes with that. And I don't, just because it's what happened at the time. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine what that child's life would be like?
Kid, I know. And the interesting thing about that, the abortion clinic that I remember, I don't remember the first one. I remember the second one was the same building that I first went to outpatient in.
You're kidding? In San Mateo?
No, in Redwood City, El Centro, right there. Yeah. And so that was that was my first process with my counselor. Wow. Gary, great guy. Remember Gary?
I do.
And he, so anyways, before I tell you what Gary taught me, 95, what was I doing when I got busted again? I was working at a bowling alley in Mountain View. I had a purple convertible Volkswagen, and I would load it up with the big old VCR and my Dremel tools and all this stuff and fluorescent paints and black lights. And I would go into that nursery and me and them kids would be tweaking. They had no idea. And there was 2 rooms and I had the VCR set up so I could shut up those kids and make them watch, movies. And the other kids I had painting with fluorescent paints and a black light in the other room. And then I was tweaking with a Dremel tool, making bowling pins and bowling balls out of plastic. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then...
So all this is leading up to getting clean?
Yep. This is right now I'm going to get busted.
All right.
So I come home one time. I had we called them some lop at my house.
That's a good word.
And my Volkswagen was kind of,
well known.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were taking his car to the store and I had everything on me, right? The scale, the cut, the flashlight full of quarters, the uncut dope, the whatever. And he got pulled over. And I remember standing on the side going, you gonna arrest him or what? I could have probably not, but I'm thinking in my mind, I probably could have, if I just shut up, I could have walked away. Uh-huh. And they're like, ma'am, flashlight in the eyes, ma'am. Uh-huh. And at that point, I remember thinking my life is freaking over. And it was my life as I knew it was over. I had one of those Radio Shack. It was before technology came out, but it had memory, not much, but you could store numbers and they had it and they were asking about things. And I don't know nothing. They're like, you still driving that purple Volkswagen, ma'am? All this stuff, whatever. I remember sitting in jail, thinking I didn't do jail well. I slept and cried. And I remember my friend Kim had 18 days clean, the day before I got busted. And I remember being heartbroken, right? I'm so sad you're not going to use anymore. It was sad to me. But thank God, because she had 18 days clean when I went to jail, and I was in jail for 4 months. And she told me, go into a program. I didn't know what a program was, but I cried my way in it. And I'm telling you, it was choices. It was Delancey Street style. And that's what I needed. As fluffy and crying and scared as I was, I would have manipulated my way out of a soft and easy program. And these guys yelled at me, cussed at me. If you know anything about Delancey, yes. Yeah. Behavior modification.
Yeah.
And
AKA attack therapy.
Yeah. But it was the best thing that could ever happen.
I'm not against it.
Yeah. My mom and my grandma were so supportive. I remember the first time I went to court, it was the Billionaires Boys Club, I think.
Wow.
In San Mateo County Courthouse. Newspapers and all this stuff all over. My mom's like, what'd you do? And I'm like, they are not here for me, Mom. Stop. And her and my grandma were in the back. I remember the courtroom and the bailiff having to tell them, ma'am, if you ladies don't be quiet, we're going to have to ask you to leave, and they're like, but they were my biggest supporters. So anyways, I went into this program and this is where my recovery started. It was.
But you stayed clean in jail?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your first day clean was in jail?
My first day clean was in jail. September 7th, 1995. And that's like, there's so much. So it was a program, and I knew nothing about anything except for, I had 3 cats and Deanna was taking care of them. And I told them, and so the whole thing was, where do you start with choices? So there was 3 counselors. They yelled at you all the time. You had group. They came in and did meetings. You could do church on Sunday, and we did outreach. We made these bracelets and stuff, and we could take them to do giveaway at some center or something like that. Yeah. And so there's a couple things that I remember the most was, so they had this box. And so if the counselors were out, right, it was the weekend or nighttime, and something happened, you could put each other in the box and it would be addressed in group later. So that gave you the opportunity to tell on yourself, telling someone else.
Yeah, you write it down and put it in the box.
Yeah. And, the whole don't rat on me thing, they were trying to change our perspective as it's about saving lives, right? Changing behavior.
I was in a program just like that.
Oh, okay. And so I got put in the box. And so they took me into the phone booth. Shirley was my counselor's name. Best thing, she just messaged me the other day. We're going to start working on our website again. And she pulled me into the phone booth and she goes, "Are you fucking suicidal?" I was like, "No, why do you ask?" And she's like, "Well, because somebody had overheard me telling my grandma if something happened to my cats, I was going to kill myself." Right? And I don't have that kind of courage. How do you kill yourself anyways? I didn't know. You know what I mean? That was just
just a saying.
Yeah. But it was the first time I learned about my manipulative behavior, right? Because I was manipulating my grandma to get my needs met.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
And then there was another time where Terry, the director of the program in Delancey Street. She was also the director of Choices at the time. And she's blowing hair back and she's doing group and she's like, "And you?" And I'm like, sitting on a sofa table against a wall or something. I look behind me, there's a wall. So apparently she's talking to me. And she's like, "If you don't start speaking up for yourself, you're going to fucking die." And I was like, it wasn't until 13 years clean did I realize what she meant. And so time went on. I mean, I learned that I was a gossiper. It made me feel better to talk about how bad you were. I was a cliquey. I would click up and pick on people. If you got in trouble, you were on contract and you had to scrub the tile with toothbrushes. I think I did that a few times. I remember going to church and they wanted me to stop having sex. That's the only thing I remember about church and jail. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. Like that's right. That's all whatever. And, yeah.
That was a non-starter.
But I got my GED. That way it made my diploma from high school valid or something like that. Yeah.
I get you.
And I did the relapse prevention with what's his name? He's an old guy now. But anyways, so I passed a couple of those courses, but I only did 4 months. So I got out, and when I got out, they were still letting you out at midnight. It was my grandpa and my mom and Kim. She had a big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, big book in a purple Christmas stocking, and that was the beginning of my recovery.
Nice.
My mom let me stay at her house. Her husband didn't trust me. It was awkward. I felt like I was on mushrooms because I never had lived without putting something in my body. So normal was weird.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a tunnel all the time. I had to go get a job and figure out what to do. I went to Big Lots and got a job there. I applied for a job and they said they were going to call me, but I didn't have a phone. So that didn't work. And then I remember, my friend Kim let me stay at her apartment. I went and got my cats. One of my cats did die while I was in jail. And so that was, we were in the middle of a meeting, and that was my first exposure of somebody feeling for me, because it was a very somber meeting because I was sad. So everybody was sad with me. I didn't kill myself because something happened to one of my cats. So
did you recognize it at the time as empathy?
I didn't know. No,
you didn't know what
not
empathy
at all.
was.
Not at all. Didn't even know what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
I do remember walking the streets of that neighborhood when I got out of jail, calling for my cat. And I didn't even at that time know what I was really feeling. Me and Kim used to sit on her bed with a little feelings chart and try to identify why we were crying and what we were feeling.
Yeah.
Waiting for somebody to pick us up to a meeting crying, you know?
It wasn't the feelings chart with faces on it.
Oh, yes, it was.
It was. Yeah.
And I remember Gary telling me that for every war story, he wanted me to tell a recovery story. And so I didn't have I couldn't talk, right? I had to pay attention and so me and Kim would just drive around and make up stories, like, go on the accordion buses.
Yeah.
She'd go, you go in the back, I'll go in the front. And we go around a corner, where'd you go? Stupid stuff like that. But that was a story we could talk about because you knew we were going to have a war story. We had to have something to follow it up with. She was the coffee maker for the Archway meeting in Redwood City. I think it was Friday or Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And so she let me do that commitment with her. And my big story was we would teach ducks how to drink water out of styrofoam cups without spilling. Hey, that's another recovery story. Yes. And then the other part of that meeting was we would set it up different, and addicts don't like change.
No.
And they'd come in all freaked out because the room was set up like facing a different direction. And
you just sat back and watched people's reaction?
Yeah, we were like, fine, we won't change the room around. Funny. That was the first time I met Lori.
Oh, no.
Yes. And
holy shit.
She was stuck in her own stuff because I think she was coming back or whatever, but she was the funniest. I remember like vividly good memories of Lori. And I remember sitting on the floor listening to a GSR report going, what the hell are they talking about? Like, it was Spanish. I had no idea of the language they were speaking. It didn't make any sense, but
yeah.
But I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I kept coming back.
Fun fact.
Yes.
So Lori's husband at the time, when
Charlie.
when we were getting clean, Charlie, I used to go to, like a step group at his house. And then one time, the first time I met her, she came in, introduced herself and all that. And she's just like bubbling over with like craziness.
Yeah, Lori.
And then later she told me that they used to bet money on newcomers, whether they're going to stay clean or not. And she bet that I was going to get loaded.
Oh.
She lost.
Hey, she lost, yeah.
But that's when I found out it was a real thing, that the people back then in the 80s would bet money on newcomers.
Interesting.
Yeah. So sorry. So go ahead.
No, that's okay. Her sponsor at the time Kim's sponsor at the time was Mona. Did you know Tommy and Mona?
Yeah.
So I hung out a lot. Right? That's the era. Right? You got George and Patrice and Tommy and Mona.
So some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Some of the people actually scared you. Like Mona scared the shit out of me.
Did she?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know enough to be scared of her. Actually, she was very kind to me because I was so scared. So she didn't scare me.
To a lot of people.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, she would just pop off and go, I'm going to fucking kill him.
Yeah.
And go, wait, I think is she serious?
Yeah, those are the days. That was the crew. I remember Clark was so I just stayed clean, didn't know how, went to meetings, Tommy and Mona, all these people, right? And that's how I kind of got involved with service. Like that was I hid behind service, right? It was easier to be in service than to take a look at myself. So I still hadn't had a sponsor. That was when I think a couple years we had a tradition study at my house. So step groups, tradition study, nowhere near any concepts of service.
So this is all your beginning of recovery?
This is beginning recovery. I dove right in. What did Clark used to say? Win with the stickers. And that's what I did. I got involved with service. I think he was the NCCNA convention chair at this time. And this is the funniest thing because I was very new and my job was the marathon meeting working group leader. Dude, that's like 4 days of worth every hour spreadsheet.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. That kept me clean for a little while. Yeah. Yeah. For a while, actually.
The very first time I went to Area.
Oh.
Everybody has stories about Area.
Love it.
The very first time I went to Area, Clark was Area chair.
Yeah.
His wife was vice chair.
Oh.
And at that meeting, that Area meeting, first time, there just happened to be people arguing, and the chair flew across the room.
It's the area in the house.
Yeah. Literally, a guy picked up a chair and threw it across the room. at somebody.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my first introduction to area.
And you kept going back, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get to some questions.
Okay, sure.
Now that we're into recovery.
Yes.
So we're going to start with some of like the 4-step questions.
Yeah, go for it.
So tell us about one of your biggest fears in early recovery, and then tell us about one now today.
So I've learned there's realistic fears and there are unrealistic fears.
Let's hear them.
You want to hear the unrealistic? This is the funniest freaking thing on the planet. When I remember being in one of those step groups, I literally wrote this on my 4-step. my fear was that I would get up and fart.
That's on your 4-step.
Yes. And that people wouldn't like me. That's as deep as I could go in my first 4-step, right?
Jesus, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And so the pattern in my life is I did step groups. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have a woman to call me on my stuff who could see the patterns in my life to prevent the patterns from continuing. So
for a second there, I thought you were going to say that pattern, that was the pattern of my life. I would get up and fart.
No, no, I always held it. Trust me. No.
Okay.
But I think.
So what's the realistic fear?
The realistic fears is not being accepted, not being like, I was approval addict, loss, that everybody in my life would leave me. So that's why I never got close to anybody, because the pattern of real life was all my dads left or died. My brother left because he died. And then all the guys in high school, I never expected commitment. And so that was just that I had abandonment issues. And that was my fear, that everybody's going to leave me.
That was a pattern for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then do you have a fear now? Like a current fear?
I think my fears now are financial fears. Mm-hmm. I love my husband, but he's a spender. We both do real good because we never got taught in school or in life how to be responsible in that way.
Budget.
Right. And so when I got married, I had no debt. I owned my car outright. And now, we have 4 houses, 3 cars, a motorcycle. The times aren't so hot. We're trying to sell a house. It's not a seller's market. So my fear is finances.
Yeah.
And so actually, now that you've triggered this memory, my fear was always that I was going to die alone under a bridge.
Which bridge? San Mateo?
One of them. Yep. San Mateo or San Francisco Bridge. I was going to be in a cardboard box living under a bridge because I couldn't, I didn't have any money. And at that time I was single. So now the fear is still financial. It's just not under the bridge in a box. I don't know I don't have a fear, an outcome fear, but it's still financial just because.
That's legit though.
Yeah. And neither of us planned for our future. So our thinking is real estate. Mm-hmm. And we got in a little too deep. You know what I mean? So we do need to sell one house. And I just have to reel him in. When I got married, he here's all the questions you should ask before you get married. Do you talk to your mom? How's your relationship with your mother? When's the last time you paid your taxes? How much child support do you owe? Because when I got married, not really. We were on our way to look at new houses. It was almost Mother's Day. I'm like, so did you call your mom for Mother's Day? I haven't talked to her in 20 years. I'm like, oh, oops. That's probably not good. And then after we were married, I went to pay our taxes, realized he hadn't paid his since 2011.
Oops.
And he owed $54,000 in back child support. Oops. I'm like, bro, this is stuff people a couple years clean start working on. And I remember him getting all mad at me about the child support and opening up that can of worms and reaching out to the ex-wife. Thanks for opening up that can of worms. It's all taken care of now, all 3 of them. His mom comes to stay with us. There's no more back taxes. So
there's progress.
Yeah. But I always tease him so how's that can of worms doing? Uh-huh. Yeah. So anyways, so financial fears are,
okay.
Realistic.
Yeah, that's very realistic. And that's probably right now in this climate in the world right now, it's super realistic.
Yeah.
Especially. Yeah. So tell us about a reservation that you had when you first got clean.
I totally know it. My mom. Anything
reservation?
Anything happened to my mom, I'm gonna use.
Which is interesting because your whole life she was an alcoholic.
She was
part of that vicious cycle that you went through.
Right, but she was always still my mom.
Yeah, I get that.
And when I got clean, her and her husband lived in Clear Lake, and I was married. Oh yeah, I was married to Larry when we had a great marriage. I met him at Higher Power. We had a great marriage. It looked good on the outside. There was no intimacy. Part my fault, part his fault. I didn't know how to have a relationship because I didn't do the work. Right, I hadn't had a sponsor yet, and I didn't do the work. How
many years clean were you when you and Larry got together?
Maybe like 5 or a little under 10.
Yeah.
And we owned a smoothie shop. The youth group kids worked for us.
My daughter worked for Larry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At Skinny Sippin'.
Uh-huh.
What was the question again?
Reservation.
Oh, so yes.
How did you get there?
I don't know. And so, because my mom was my refuge. Like I was all jacked up in my marriage, and I would run to Clear Lake and get away. But I knew, like 6:00, I had to go to one of their toothless meetings. Everybody in Clear Lake's toothless. And I would go to an NA meeting at Red Bluff Hospital because it was cocktail time for them. 6:00.
Oh, okay,
so I knew not to call my mom ever after 6, or if I was there 6:00, go to a meeting. And her husband ended up getting throat cancer. And so after that, like he had the surgery, she had to clean him. And I remember I was very, very close with my mom. No matter how dysfunctional the relationship was, I loved my mom. And I remember if anything happened to my mom, I didn't know it was a reservation. I didn't think in my head, anything happens to my mom, I'm going to use. But I know in the back of my mind after doing step work, that was my reservation. And I'm so glad that I had such a solid foundation in Narcotics Anonymous when she passed, because I didn't use. But the worst and the best year of my life, because when my mom got sick, she had to stop drinking. So all of that, when I got out of jail, I had an eating disorder. Forgot to even go through that part. That's another dark place to be. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
You get endorphins. It's a rush. I would binge and purge, and you would just, the only control I guess I had in my life. And all of that is self-esteem, body image. Yeah. And so I remember when she got sick, we finally talked about my brother, which she couldn't talk about, because she would drink, right? She would shove it under the carpet. We finally talked about him. We talked about the reason I probably had an eating disorder was because she raised me, and she was 4'11", and I was a chunky kid, and because I was the whole latchkey kid thing, and didn't have any education on how to be good. I mean, all kinds of stuff we didn't have education about. I learned when I got clean. I didn't know how to go to the doctor. I was ashamed if my body smelled as a woman, like all that stuff you never get taught if you're in a dysfunctional family. But so me and my mom got really, really close that last year of her life because she was sober. And then I remember being in the hospital with her those last moments, like waiting for my family to come. Her eyes were yellow. She wasn't coherent. She wasn't with me, and I knew she was going to die. And I didn't use,
You had enough in the bank.
Yeah.
The recovery bank account.
Yeah, but that was my reservation. I don't think I have one now because I have the tools. Right.
And you've been around long enough to hear other people's experiences that they went through whatever it would be clean. Well,
if you look at the affair I had at 13 years clean, and I didn't use over that, the only thing that didn't change that date was my clean date.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that with your mom. My oldest brother, he's a stepbrother, he was the one that protected me growing up. And he died of this disease, and I remember losing my hero. Yeah. That was my lifetime hero right there.
Yeah.
So I feel that. So reservation. So fears, reservations. Did you have something that happened in recovery?
Yeah, you're smiling. We should probably get to that.
Okay, tell us.
So because my pattern was step groups, I didn't have a sponsor. I actually had a sponsor at that time, Gloria N.
In name? Oh, yeah.
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 But they had moved to Stockton, so it was a long distance
I
relationship.
thought it was Manteca.
No, they lived in Stockton. I lived in Manteca later on.
Okay.
And Chuck always wanted to call me and counsel me and Larry, and I just didn't want to do it because so when Larry worked at the church and he quit that job, so we had to go to another job and or another church. Otherwise, people would continue to ask him, right? And so we started going to the Vineyard, and I ended up getting a job there. And so, mind you, I had the eating disorder, and I thought if I went to dental school, I could go to work for Dr. Johansson, and then he would see my teeth, and somehow I'd get caught. Like this crazy, insane thinking, right? Because it was a dark disease and nobody knew about it but me, but I wanted help, but I didn't know how to reach out and thought maybe a dentist would figure it out and help me. I don't know. Weird thinking, right?
Yep.
And so anyways, I started working at this church, and I didn't, so when I first got the job, the guy said, like, you're like everybody else. Everybody needs to talk. You need to talk, make an appointment. Okay, that's great. And I didn't realize, like, he'd come in at 9 and leave at 3. Then it started coming in at 8 and leaving at 4. And the pattern was we would have our meeting on Tuesday in his office to figure out what I needed to get done for Sunday. And one meeting, I come in to his office and he's turns around in his chair and he's inappropriately doing whatever to himself. Addict in recovery. I don't know what I said. Probably was some smart aleck comment. And mind you, in those days, I would come in on a Sunday morning crying, my marriage is a mess. I don't think I want to stay. If you need to fire me because I work at a church, that's fine.
Right.
But when he was exposing himself, I remember running to the other side of the church for what felt like an hour. Hiding in the bathroom was probably 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And like, what do I do? So I went back to his office, and I remember it's all kind of vague. I remember him exposing it again, putting it like right here on my arm, shoulder. And then next day I remember being at my desk going, this is who I used to be. Like, I can't do this. Like, this is 13 years clean, mind you. And I didn't have the tools and that's when, if you don't start speaking up for yourself, you're going to die. That's the retrospect
clicked?
from jail.
Wow.
Yep. Well, no, it didn't even click till I worked my steps around it. But that's when.
Oh, I see.
It should have been, if you don't start speaking up for yourself, I could have said no and meant no. But I said no, okay. Because my no didn't mean no. I didn't know how. I probably would have said no to Larry when marrying him if I knew how to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
And so it turned into an 18-month affair. And I'm telling you, I thought I was in love. Like, this is the saddest story of my life for me. You know, everybody's got their stories. But for me, I look at it now and it was very sad because I thought I was in love. Like, literally. And in the beginning, you couldn't kiss because that meant commitment. And we rented out to an Arabic church. It was a very small church. And so the door would be closed on Saturdays. And I don't even think we had phones back then. He'd be doing a sermon and I'd be sitting by him on the couch, you know, whatever. And it was only, I guess I could say it here, it was only oral sex at the time because it was no commitment. And it eventually evolved into a full-on relationship. And I remember times, and we had a youth pastor that was there part-time, the bookkeeper who had a handicapped daughter who totally took care of me. Like, they had me over for dinner, but we couldn't wait for her to leave so we could be in our sin or whatever you want to call it. And I remember sitting at his desk during lunch, and he had me close my eyes, and he would tell me stories about him doing his preaching and then coming down to me, his wife. Mind you, I never had an expectation of him leaving his wife because that's not my experience. Never even asked him or thought he ever would. No commitment for me involved because I didn't know how to commit. And stories, he'd play his guitar to me. Our stuff we'd talk about would end up in a sermon. I ended up being the girl in 2 services, snot running, loving the Lord, down on my knees, whatever, to being outside with the youth group kids who didn't want to be there because I was so ashamed of my behavior and thought God had hated me. I remember thinking to myself, just like the last time hitting the pipe, God, how am I ever going to quit? Right? And same thing, this was an addiction. I was
heavy.
Stuck in it, thinking, how am I ever going to stop? You know, and I love to say that my God loved me so much that he shined his marvelous light into the darkest areas of my life. Because and mind you, he was a porn addict. At that time, we had Triple X Church coming to do conference at our church, which God loves porn stars too. Had me take all this is a total addiction story. He had me take all his porn, all his CDs, all of it, and I drove from like San Carlos all the way down to Palo Alto so nobody would see me, and threw it in a garbage can. And just like throwing away the dope, right? Mm-hmm. And then I became his live porn star. He would use my computer instead of his, so the church people couldn't track it. Had me sending him pornography stuff from my house. Like, it was just all jacked up. And then I have self-esteem issues comparing myself to the person he's watching on the screen. So it only dug me deeper into my eating disorder.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so anyways, how am I ever going to stop? God saw it fit. We were in the nursery inappropriately fondling. We were both standing up, fully dressed. And his wife walked in. And I'm telling you, that day, the only thing that didn't change was my clean date. Thank God I didn't use.
No kidding.
I didn't lose anything. As they say, I threw it away. Threw away my church. I threw away my church family. I threw away my job. I threw away my marriage. And I remember going to my old boss's house at the job at the mortgage company, and I was lost.
Were you connected in the program with people?
Oh, yeah. And it used to be the standing joke, I can just go back to Narcotics Anonymous. Nobody's going to kick me out for having an affair there. You know?
Everybody would say, oh, yeah, me too.
They'd all clap.
Yeah.
But I was broken. It was time. I had to get busy. I had to check. Checkmate. And I did. I called up Joan. She was a Christian recovery lady. She had 34 years sober, mm-hmm. and it was time to get busy.
So there was a lot of AA too.
Yeah, definitely. In the Christian recovery, I went to NA a lot. I never went to an AA meeting. I couldn't understand the language, but I knew AA people, right?
Gotcha.
And the church had said, I want you to go up to this church, tell them what you've done, tell them you're coming. You need a women's pastor, and you need somebody to walk alongside of you. So I did that, and I got Joan as my sponsor. And, there was some lady who was on the board of the church I got in trouble at, and she's started going to the church I went to.
Oh, no.
Stupid, right? And she couldn't take communion, so she chased down their women's pastor and said, I can't take communion until I talk to her. And so me and Joan had to quick, do a 4-step around it, or 8 and 9, so I could do an amends. And she said, and here's the difference between church and recovery, right? She's like, when I got that phone call, I was breastfeeding my baby and had to put down my baby for the next 10 months. No, you didn't. You chose to be on that board. Like that's not my fault. That's your fault. I may have, and so the church people were like, you could have sued for a person in authority taking advantage of you. And Gloria's like, oh no, girl, you're taking responsibility for your actions. Yeah. And so I needed to hear the ripple effect of her breastfeeding her baby, whatever. And I know. And so I had to get busy and work some steps. That's when I got with Gloria and realized all of my issues were around abandonment from the men in my life, whether it was my brother or dad or anything else.
All right. So let's how much time do you have left?
30 minutes.
Okay. We're going to get to resentments. I just want to say that we're at that point in your recovery where the work started.
Yes,
and
exactly.
How many years clean?
13.
13 years clean, and then you started doing the work.
Yep.
So that's what I love about the program. One is that it takes what it takes.
Right.
Right, and we have to go through enough pain.
What is it when the pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sayings around it, but so you started doing the work, so which is great, and that's the type of diversity that we want to get out the message out to our our friends in recovery that listen, is that there's all kinds. And what I really love about you, and I've always appreciated, is like you being in the friends group, right? Mm-hmm. But you're very religious and spiritual, but it's never so prominent when you're around us that it makes us uncomfortable. It's always been like an attraction. how you deal with your spirituality, and it's a lot of respect for you around that. A lot of respect, because some of that can push people away,
right?
And you've never ever done that, and I've always appreciated it. So we know your spirituality is through Christianity,
right?
Yeah. So cool. Good for you. Resentment.
I think I resented him and myself. Right?
Big one.
Yeah. I hated myself in the beginning because I got caught. Bottom line, right? I remember making amends to my best friend in church, and she goes, you're just sorry you got caught. And she was right. Because it was like a week later or something.
She said that in like a bitter tone?
Uh-huh. And I'm like, but after doing the work, she was right. It was way too soon. Like, I hadn't done any of the work. I don't even know what I was sorry. I was sorry I got caught. You're right. And so the resentment was, did I have any resentment against my mom? Not really. I think early on I learned she was doing the best she could. I mean, because even though I did step groups, I still did the work, right? I just didn't go deep enough. But I did enough work to realize that my mom was doing the best she could. Was I mad at God? Crap, yeah. I was mad at God for taking my mom. I was mad at God for taking my brother. I was mad at God for allowing this to happen in my life. I was mad at God for everything that had happened to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm so grateful that I was so strong in higher power recovery ministry that at that time I got caught, I ran to God and not from him, because I knew that ministry showed me grace, because they're just a bunch of addicts too. Steve A. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And I ran to my sponsor, Gloria, and I ran to Chuck, and they were so kind and loving and forgiving. So my resentments were, I just had to work through the pain of why was I mad at God, right? Because I was abandoned by everything. I felt like I was abandoned by God. Mm-hmm. And why was I mad at myself? That's like issues I still work through today, right? I have a lot of the whole body image and self-hatred and approval addict. And so that's just stuff I continue to work through on a daily basis.
Mm. So, yeah, the resentment when you first got clean, did you resent your mom?
Not really. It's interesting. I probably had to put her on my fourth-step, but I loved my mom so much. Mm-hmm. And knowing looking at, because her and my grandma were so supportive, I wasn't really resentful, because they supported me through the beginning of my recovery, where I was so scared and so full of fear.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That I didn't really resent much of her. Maybe resented my dad for dying, for leaving me.
Yeah.
I met my biological dad when I got clean. Mm-hmm. So I never resented him. I actually went to, so my biological dad, he ended up getting clean in AA, and then became the director of a youth Christian center and was a deacon at his church by the time I got clean. And so I would go out to Oklahoma and visit him, and we'd go to NA meetings and volunteer for the tornado people.
All right. So resentments today, pretty non-existent?
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of resentments. You know why? Is because it's funny, the past 2 or 3 months, I've gone deep into non-Christian podcasts, and Mel Robbins is huge in that. Like, the Let Them theory has been the biggest thing of my life, whether it's work, recovery, or whatever. Got the tattoo. Like, those people are doing the best they can, and that's their stuff. Just let them be them. Like, don't hold them hostage up to your standards, or because they're not doing what you want them to.
Yeah.
So being able to let go, I think that's another. The language of letting go is another, and my sponsor had me read What You Think About Me Is None of My Business, because it helps me just worry about me. Yeah. And let people be people. So I don't have a lot of resentments.
I when you were talking, I was just thinking that first thing that popped in my head was like, why am I letting them rent so much space in my head for free?
Exactly.
And anyways. So have you been consistent, like in meetings and all that, since you moved out here to Utah?
So when I first moved up to northern Utah, I did celebrate recovery a lot. I tried to go to meetings up there, and I didn't connect. Like, they weren't very big. I just didn't connect with anyone. So I didn't do NA for probably like a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
But I did like celebrate recovery twice a week. So I was still in the 12-step process.
Yeah.
Just not in NA. Then when I moved to Southern Utah and you guys came to the convention and introduced me to everybody, I've been like hardcore plugged in since. And it's taken me this long to like find friends because I've learned to have balance in my life.
Yeah.
And so my husband lives up north and he comes home on Fridays about 6 and goes home Sunday nights or Monday about 3 a.m. So weekends are completely for my husband. So sometimes NA events and other service commitments or stuff to get involved in has been tough. So my midweek has been my NA meetings, and I've just recently gotten connected and involved and met a lot of people. And so, yeah, I love the fellowship here.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And, I've made lots of mistakes when I was involved in higher power, and I've learned so much in the mistakes of the relationships I had with the recovery community in the Bay Area that were all my fault, mind you, because I got caught in affairs. So I was holding other people to my standards. And I told on a friend who was a ministry leader, and she got offended. They got butthurt. He got mad. Like it was just one, and it was all my fault. And even my sponsor had a tough time with her. Her husband died, and I was coming out of the affair. My standards were way up here. She was living with her husband's sponsor, trying to connect me with him. And again, my standards were high, and she like spoke at a convention, and my mouth dropped when she said she was like fooling around with this guy or whatever. And then she like felt I was judging her. So then I went to somebody in our ministry to ask him like just for advice. And she thought I was gossiping, you know what I mean? And so then my sponsor now tells me if you had gone to somebody who didn't know you guys, probably wouldn't have been gossip.
Yeah.
But he did, and it was. So all the painful, I'm not going to call them mistakes, but lessons I've learned about friendships and relationships that happened with me at a good time clean, 13, 20 years clean. You know what I mean? I've learned those, and I did not bring them with me to Southern Utah. Like the boundaries and the trust and the person that I am today are all a result of the lessons I learned.
So we call that wisdom.
Thank you.
So,
that's my gray hair.
Yeah. So if we really want to step back and big picture this whole thing is like you've gone through so much in your life. And in recovery, that you've created enough mistakes and learned from them, that you've created a lot of wisdom.
I think my bottom in recovery is more than any bottom I hit using, even my childhood trauma. Like, I mean, sure, there's probably some outside help that I could get to deal with the emotional stuff in my marriage.
Yeah.
We could do better, and probably has a big part with me. But he's the cured one. He went to treatment, got clean, is a workaholic, and loves his life. So it takes him a little longer to process something. So if we get in an argument, which we don't get in a lot of them because I don't like confrontation, which is probably a character defect, not an asset. But he'll go away and then come think about it.
Well,
still has
his process.
Still has his recovery thinking. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Everybody's process is different. And it's cool that you recognize that and allow him to have that.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes.
Very cool.
And I have learned a lot about being in a relationship that has just from not making mistakes but learning lessons. And my behavior, I bring me to the table. And I got to let him be him. Right. And allow him. And I got to understand a man. Right. I've learned through podcasts. Right. Or, talking with you guys think differently than we do. And I know his love language. I need to affirm him. Like I need to tell him he's a rock star. I love how you support our family. I love how you're doing this for us, because that helps his esteem as what he's trying to do for our family.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And that's funny, Jen. Many, many years ago, Jen's like, I want you to read this book. And I'm like, what? It's men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't read self-help books. I got NA. This is the only thing I need. And very stubborn, very close-minded at that outside self-help. So anyways, she talked me, and I would listen to it on a CD on the way to work. It was like, so I would, at first I'm like, I put it on, I'm listening to it as I'm driving to work, and I'm like, this is stupid, I hate this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I got to work, and it was only like a half an hour drive, I was like, this stuff's pretty good. And so I started listening to it back and forth for like a week. And then by day 3, I'm like, that's fucking right. That's how we, you know what? This guy is amazing, you know? And then after that, I was like, maybe I should start doing a little bit of outside help. And then that got the ball rolling for me.
My husband does that. He'll listen to stuff in the car too. I give it to him all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right. So we're running out of time. I know we're on a schedule. So today in your recovery, is there any like, stuff that's very important or like poignant that you want to a point that you want to make about what you've learned, like the biggest lesson?
So I still am an approval addict, right? You would not know it, but I'm a very shy person, and it's not shy, it's fear. Right? In an area that I don't feel, right? I mean, I come from the Bay Area, Peninsula area for how many years?
Yeah.
And then I come here and I don't know anybody. And that's how my higher power teaches me. Takes me out of, who do you think you know a lot, huh? He's like, don't you know who I am? Takes me out of that.
Yeah.
And puts me in an area, which when I got married and moved to Manteca, I learned that lesson going into with Gary F., him and Theresa from Chuck's ministry, they had their own recovery ministry, and I had an expectation, well, don't you know who I am? I should be a leader. And no. And my higher powers, God's like, no. You need to sit down, shut up, and listen. And I love the era we come from, right? Sit down, shut up, and listen. Like, sit in the front row, not the back. Take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. You don't get a opinion until you're 5 years clean. You know what I mean? And not that today's era is not ours, but relapse is not a part of my program. And I think that's why. Not that I have anybody who struggles. I ended up having a food addiction. And so that's how God taught me about people who relapse. Because I was in a program where you couldn't speak until you had 90 days of abstinence. And I was in there for 3 years and could never talk because I kept relapsing on food. So now I understand the person who relapses. Anyways, I'm on a tangent. Sorry. But what was the question? The important part of my recovery today.
Yeah, it sounds like you're getting there.
So what I've learned is I need to give myself more credit than I do. And so...
Do you have that problem with self-talk?
Oh, it still sounds like me.
That's my biggest problem today.
Yeah. And so when we're in my home group, so my Friday, I have 2 home groups. My Friday home group, we read out of Living Clean. And what I've learned, and working with a newcomer who's very new, like, I have a lot to give, right? Like, I've learned a lot. I've stayed clean. I'm 29 years clean. I still go to meetings. You know what I mean? So I've learned, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And I think the biggest thing for me is if I just share my experience, I have something to offer.
That's authenticity.
Yeah. And those were my 2 favorite words when I got clean, was humility and authenticity. Had my affair, sunk in my hole. And now those are my 2 favorite words again. And as long as I have a sponsor, she's here this weekend for the convention.
That's awesome.
She lives in Tracy. And as long as I stay true to her and tell her the truth, I can stay authentic and humble, right? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. And if I get in my head, I remember I can go to a meeting, be of service to another addict, and it takes me out of my crap. Because my problems realistically are luxury problems, right? It's all stuff that I create.
Yeah.
And
we're not living under a bridge anymore.
No.
I did that, by the way. I lived under the San Mateo Bridge.
And so I think, the most important thing I can say to anybody is keep coming back, right? So what is it? If you don't get away from the basics, if you stick to the basics, you don't have to get back to them, right? And the basics are where the program is, right? So, and I say it here because in our formats in California are very different than they are here. And I remember in ours, it said, go to a meeting every day and don't use in between. And we always changed it. Go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and you had to change it.
Yeah.
Because you can't go to meeting a day for 90 days and don't use in between. Read some NA literature every day. Call your sponsor and be of service. And don't pick, you know what I mean? And so I say that in every meeting because I think the newcomer needs to be reminded of that because I don't hear that a lot here.
Old timers need to be reminded of that.
Exactly. I just love my people. Yeah. Yeah, and go to meetings and be honest, right? I think that's
That's very cool. We usually get into like character defects and assets, but I'm sure people like picked up on that through your story.
You know, the other thing, my character defects, right, are I can be. This is the way which I had to learn coming here. This is the way I know how to do it. Mm-hmm. You're doing it wrong, right? I learned that going to Manteca. I didn't pull that here. I just acknowledged it, like in my head, right? Character defect, not a shortcoming, right? So I acknowledged that things are different and it's okay, right? My character defect, still one, George and Patrice from the Peninsula area, I still have trouble driving. Like, people get on my last nerve. That is my biggest character defect. And now that I have this new car, like, I have to remember to foot off the pedal. You know, Utah drivers drive worse than California drivers, trust me. And then negative self-talk.
Good. Okay.
That's my biggest one. My assets are what I'm not always aware of. I have a lot to give. Mm-hmm. Like, I have some experience. I show up on time. I show up early. I'm a good employee. I'm responsible and reliable. Like, and I'll do whatever it takes to identify my part, especially in my marriage, right? My you know, I have to work on my relationship at home because he's not in recovery. He's not a part of my program. So I have to apply that at home. Mm-hmm. And it takes work.
Okay, cool. I'll also say that you're one of the funniest people I hang out with. You know,
you help.
I'm just saying, that's an asset. As long as you're not masking humor over pain. So
actually, people do in my Friday meeting. Actually, in both meetings, people laugh a lot because I just tell the truth.
Yeah,
I tell them there's a party up here. You're all invited.
Yeah,
because I shouldn't go there alone.
We were talking about the theme song in your head. Mine's the Ringling Brothers Circus music.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so end of the podcast. Do you have a story? You told. My favorite story was the microphones and the cat's ass. But do you have like another one, either in recovery maybe, or?
So, you know, I'll say the best part of my healing process through the affair was the new church that I had gone to. There's two parts of it. So, so the part of the process was when I went up to that church, they asked
this is the new church.
The new church. They asked if I would do a Q&A because when I got fired from that job or left or threw it away, whatever, I went to work at Hope House, Women's Residential Program. Yeah. So I was no better than them. So they'd go outside and work their steps on the weekend. I would too. Right. I had to make them double scrub. I never taught them double scrub. I would go home and double scrub because I'm not going to tell them to do something I wouldn't do. So, anyways, the new church that I was at said, we want to do a Q&A with you on stage regarding your situation.
On stage in front of people?
Sunday morning.
Holy
three services. Yeah. And I said, okay, because they wanted to teach the congregation how to provide a safe environment. Because if it was a safe environment for me at my church, I would have been able to go to somebody right away and said this happened. But it wasn't safe. I had nobody to go to. And so it turned into 18 months. You know what I mean? Until I got caught. So it's fine. And my higher power loves me so much. He knows what I needed. If you ever heard of VBS, it's Vacation Bible School. It's summertime program for kids.
Okay.
And so it was VBS, and I had my homies, like all the people from my recovery ministry and my church and from Higher Power. They were all there with me, and a
lot of people in recovery.
Yeah, and the stage was, so the theme was the junkyard dogs. So the stage was full with cyclone fences and garbage cans and, you know, a junkyard, and the worship team was dressed up in dog costumes. So it's taking the pressure off a little. And so they did a Q&A. I still have the CD, I think, today. And he would ask me questions, and my answers were recovery related. Like, they had no idea that they were going to learn the 12-step process on that day. Shit. Because that's the work that I had done, and that's the healing process, right? And I knew why I got into the affair. Because I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to make a decision to save my life. And if I didn't start speaking up for myself, I was going to die. And the process, and you know, it wasn't quite as much recovery as I know now about it. But at that time, I was working my steps, you know, hard. And then the last service had to be in the auditorium because they were having VBS. And so there was dividers and there was fans and it was a younger crowd. And I could like be honest and say, like, at that time, I was very suicidal thinking, right? I didn't have the courage to do it. I didn't know how you could commit suicide.
Yeah.
But if I drove off the cliff on my on the way to my aunt's house in Los Banos, nobody would ever know. My mom's gone, my dad's gone, but my cats. That was like, But that was my thought process. And somebody had told my ex-husband that I was doing that. So he was like behind a divider. I didn't know. And so as part of the prayer team, we were done, whatever. And I was going to my little station and he popped out and he said, I love you so much.
Wow.
I forgive you,
Holy
and me and Larry are still good friends. I don't talk to him quite as much as I did in the beginning. I'd call him on our anniversary and say, happy unanniversary. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
somebody in our old church had, there was a funeral. I sat with him, we're close. Like he forgave me. And then the second part is that like 9 years later after that, when I was still working at Hope House, the woman's pastor, I think I was going to Rice City at the time instead of a different church. And she said, you know what? It took them 9 years to find a pastor because they didn't trust anything, right? Their pastor and me and whatever. And they were all fighting because, the Pebble, they have issues too. And so she said, like, the healing.
The Pebble?
Yeah.
Pebble in the pond.
Pebble in the pond, the ripple effect. Yeah.
I love that. I always use that one. Yeah.
Anyway, so the Palo Alto Vineyard came down as their prayer team. And I remember driving there, like the perimeter of the church. I hadn't been there in like 9 years. I was scared to death of who was going to be there. And we had borrowed $10,000 from one of the ladies at the church to open up a second Skinny Sippin'. And so we get there and I'm nervous. And the lady who had borrowed money from us there. And I'm like, I'm scared. And she's like, if you can't trust everybody at church, who are you going to trust? And I'm like, well, that's a dumb question. I had an affair here. Anyways. So I looked at the people I was with. Again, all the same people came with me. My homies from the recovery ministry,
right.
Started there. And I said, how are they going to do this without them mentioning the elephant in the middle, the elephant in the middle of the room? And he did. If anybody knows, it's a communion service, and it's like, go leave your gift at the altar and go be reconciled before you give communion to God, right? And so he gets to the end, and he says, so first I want any of the guys who came here with their wives to come up and take the bread and go back to your wives and confess any unforgiven or unspoken sin. Right? That's pretty deep if you're going to do that, if there is any. And then he goes to me, or he goes next. I want all the single women to come up. And I don't remember why or what he said. All I remember is turning around to a sea of people that I owed an incredible amends to, right? I worked there. I stole their time. I stole their money. I stole their trust. Like all this stuff. And so I took my bread and I went straight back to the bookkeeper who had the handicapped daughter who had taken me in as their own. And I said, and he just grabbed the bread, hits me over the head. He goes, what took you so long to get back here? And she just said, you are so forgiven,
She pinched your cheek.
Yeah. And I turned around and was able to witness the church themselves making an amends to each other because they were so broken and didn't realize the dissension they had within their own selves, right? And I even had an elder, he was a Jew for Jesus, and he was an elder at the church at the time, and he said, I owe you an amends. Like, I knew him, and it was easier for me to blame you. And you're the only one here. Like, the pastor and his wife didn't show up, my ex-husband didn't show up. I'm the only one that showed up to the table and was there for this healing and restoration service. And it's just incredible if you do the work, the rewards, right? That is, and as you know, we don't do an amends for the other person, it's for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I had to go to the elder board at one point to their house and make an amends. I mean, that's just what we do. So those are the stories that stick for me. Oh, wait, I got one more, the best one.
All right.
I was at Paul D's party and I had Steve come up to me and he said, I got a girl, I need you to talk to her. And I said, what'd she do? He goes, she had an affair with her pastor. And I was like, yes.
That's my people.
That's my people. God's finally going to use this for something good. And, he has. We've been able to have a great conversation.
You contacted this girl?
She called me. He gave her my number. She called me. It just so happened I know her from grammar school or junior high. And she's not in recovery. And I said, but you need, like, the 12 steps are for everybody, right? They're not just for addicts.
Yeah.
And I found her. She lives in California. I found her a Celebrate Recovery by her church. And then she sent me this whole big letter she sent to her church of how sorry she is. I said, you haven't sent that yet, right? And she's like, no, because it reminded me when I said I was sorry too soon.
Yeah.
I said, they're not ready to hear it. It's still fresh for them. And it's what I hear, you're just sorry you got caught. Like, let's do some work.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
Yeah, and then you can make your amends.
Wow.
So that's just the blessing in my life. I feel like I can finally be used for a wrong that I did so many years ago.
Isn't that so, like, in recovery terms, like, the living amends is huge.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a very cool story. Yeah. I like how it came full circle.
Yeah, me too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We're out of time. I know we're kind of on a schedule today, but I really appreciate you being willing to do this and be authentic.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, super cool. And I, like I said, I like that the diversity of having a different perspective on higher powers is really cool. And I know people are going to get something from it.
That's the blessing. I know that in the Bay Area, I was always known as the crazy church girl in the back of higher power.
Yeah.
But I never pushed it in meetings.
Never.
And, if I talked about it, somebody would get up and talk about theirs, whatever. But, this is my story. I don't speak for Narcotics Anonymous or anybody else, but I don't push it on anybody either. But if, you guys were so great. If there was that one person in the room, you'd always go, you should probably go talk to Theresa.
Yeah. It was awesome. All right, my friend, and everybody, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Often you will hear addicts referring to a specific 12-step program or rehab. These are personal stories. We do not represent any of the programs.